I warmly welcome you to another episode of Elevate Podcast with Eric. So today, as I'm connecting with you, we saw the importance of training in the last episode. And today we continue that sales approach and looking at another episode of where we will be discussing one of the most important topics which is very relevant for today. The shift in selling. What would you say if I ask you to define what selling is? Some might say it's about selling my product or my service. It's about promoting it. Some might say it's about me taking my product to the market and making sure I sell it to the right customer. But selling basically is all about your ability to solve another person's problem. It's not about a product, it's not about a service, it is not anything about you. But it is all about another person and another person's need or a problem. One of the biggest challenges in salespeople thus far was that we all focus on pushing our product or service or solution to our clients. And when we focus on pushing our product or services, it's always what we have to offer which becomes the priority. It's about our talk which becomes our priority. Sometimes we hardly listen to what the client has to say and we keep on repeating things which we have learned to pitch over time. But today I need to tell you the dynamics have evolved drastically over time. And if you're still remaining in that old mindset, you might have faced a great deal of challenge. Because today, we know that differentiating yourselves in the marketplace is key in order to promote or sell whatever you have to sell. But due to the clutter of similar products, the cost battle which is going around, and the feature competition, etc., one place many fail or oversee is the element to add value to what you do. It's about how you sell, how you service, and how you support. For instance, if you are selling an insurance, it is no longer the benefits that you highlight. Everyone does that. But how are you differentiating and adding value to your customer? It is also about making the customer shift from a benefit mindset to an experiential mindset. It is no longer about just talking, but actually connecting to your customer's emotions by listening. For example, when you meet a customer to promote your insurance policy, maybe you would have said, "Madam or sir, I have a great policy, and that policy provides you with a great cover, with a hospitalization benefit of so much, an emergency cover of so much. So these are benefits you push to the customer." But aren't these also said by your competitors? One thing we need to understand is it's no longer about pitching, but about how you make your customer think which matters. For instance, when you meet a potential customer, your first set of questions should have to do nothing with your insurance policy. It has to be about them, him or her. So, if you carefully look at it, it is important to say, "I'm so happy, sir, that I'm able to come and meet you today. And I would like to understand more about you, more about your family, your kids, and what are they doing? How are they doing in their school? And what grades are they in? What are the passions they follow? And so what is it that interests you most today?" And as you take that conversation forward, you start connecting deeper into that relevant person's passion, his concerns, and the conversation might lead you to an emotional point where you both agree on something. That's when you need to start talking about what you need to offer. Just ask him, What made him consider to go for an insurance policy? Or what does he want to achieve through it? All he needs to know is that you're concerned about him, his family, and not about your interest in selling him a policy. Once you gather all these information about him, around him, a 360-degree view, then you truly understand why he wants this policy. Then you are able to really create value around what you have, around the offerings you have to offer. And then it is time for you to align his requirements to some of your benefits you offer. Show him that you have a solution towards each of his concerned areas. That not only creates a trust between you and your client, but that enables you to truly initiate your value and connect emotionally. So it's no longer about just talking. It's about listening. It's no longer about forcing yourselves or pushing a sale. But today it is all about understanding the reason and selling consultatively. It is no longer about selling and focusing on the selling process. Because as you focus on your selling process, it's all about you, your organization, and your products. But today it is also about your buyer, your client, your customer, and the buying process, on what they follow in order to reach out to you. If you do not understand certain elements of their buying process, you might fail to close a deal. That's where many salespeople today think that they have really come very closer to close a deal, but finally find themselves that that deal has been pushed back, or that deal is no longer available. Your competition might have taken it. That is because you have not understood their buying process, your customer's buying process, his mental attitude, his approach towards buying a product. So it's very important that you understand today, it's not about selling anymore, it's all about buying. And if you look at today's world, your client already knows 60 to 70% of what they want. Who are the competitors in that relevant domain you need to offer? And they really know it because of social media and other aspects which they are connected to today. And if you are one who can understand who your customer is even prior to your meeting, then you have half won the sale. Now the client is cluttered with information and there's an information overflow and he's confused. So today, the role of a salesperson is to bring clarity over clutter. And he has a good chance to earn their trust first. To bring insights over the information he has. Not all information is correct. Not all information is accurate. So buyers who have information need to be given the correct perspectives. There should be value beyond price. Not always agree on discounts, but work towards adding value in what you have to give. And most importantly, it's empathy over ego. You need to understand the buyer's pressure, the buyer's process, and support them to overcome the frictions they might face within their process. Because as you open up, as you have conversations, as you start listening, you will be able to pull a thread out of the conversation and understand the entire fabric of your deal. So it's all about partnership over persuading your buyer. It's just looking beyond the short-term selling, but to a long-term relationship. Sometimes you might not have an immediate sale, but do not give up. Build upon him. Be in touch with him so that you will not forego anything out of the buyer's process. It's easy for us salespeople to understand the sales process. Initially, we prospect, we make contact, then we qualify our prospects, isn't it? Then we nurture the prospect, understanding where they are going. Then we present our offer or our proposal to the client. And then there could be objections in terms of competition, in terms of features, in terms of commercials. So you face through that phase and go forward to close the deal. Or sometimes, unfortunately, you might have lost the deal. So this is basically the sales process. But when you go through a buyer's process, you will understand There is a need recognition stage within the buyer's process. There is an information search stage within the buyer process. There is evolution of awareness or attention, or what they need to look at alternatives. So there is a revelation of alternative stage where they look at, okay, what are the alternatives I have? Then there is purchase decision stage. And finally, once they decide on purchasing and they give you the PO, finally it's about post-purchase and behavior stage where they evaluate how your product or your service or your solution is performing. So you need to understand every step of that buyer's process in order to take it forward. So today, one of the most important questions as salespeople we need to ask ourselves is not what is my product or service, but what is my solution to the customer problem. The next will be not what use my product will be used for, but what problem does my solutions resolve or solve. Within that, you need to understand what does make my customer feel elated or great when he starts using my solution. Sometimes they might perceive your solution to be one thing, but the true value of your solution is something else. So you need to bring clarity during the discussions. Then finally, it's important to look, why should the customer come back to you? What is my solution? Why is my solution special? What is that I have to offer that other people do not have to offer? And finally, how do I talk about my solution? What is my story? It's not about my pitch. It's about a beautiful story I knit. And how will I resonate and connect to the emotions of my customer? So as you view deeper into the sales mindset, you need to think that I'm here to help rather to sell and not to sell. You need to think I'm a consultant and not just a salesperson. You need to think that customer's world is bigger than my target, and there is also a buying process like a selling process. You need to ensure that every customer has a long-term relationship built with you. Never sell and disappear, but stay connected all the time. Even if you do not have something to offer at that particular time, stay connected. There could be a time when you can really sell something and ensure that you get the winning closure, what you expect. And also remember, work on small daily disciplined habits to bring impactful results. Do you maintain a sales funnel? Do you go through that and have a steady and strong pipeline? Those things are really important as we go forward for a salesperson. And never be disappointed when the customer says no. Remember, no information is not rejection, but an opportunity for you to be curious. Think I must win the customer and not an argument. And follow-up is not an irritation to your customer, but a sense of caring that you want to resolve his problem and give him a solution which he could be happy of. So today, as we looked at a shift in mindset which is required today to be a salesperson, to reach out to your customer, to make him think differently than push your product or pitch, you need to understand that the dynamics of the markets are changing and it's time for you to change. So thank you for joining me today. I hope this episode would have helped you pause, reflect and rethink about the importance of how you need to approach your customers. I would love to hear from you, your suggestions, your questions, and any challenges you might be facing. Please reach out to me via LinkedIn, send me a message, drop your comments, write an email to me via the address I've given below, send me a WhatsApp message via the WhatsApp number I've mentioned. Please feel free to connect with me anytime. Your feedback shapes this podcast literally until we catch up next time. Cheers and adios. Take care. Have a great week ahead.